Words like these are not meant for every soul, beloved. Some hearts shrink back when they feel the weight. Before anything else happens, others experience the same weight and come to terms with who they really are. Take a deep breath and pause. It's not the fast breath of habit, but a deliberate, slow breath that feels like it's finally getting to a part of you that has been closed off for years. Allow it to pass through you. Let it calm you down. You're not being asked to pay attention to this message. It requests that you be prepared. It was no accident or idle scrolling that brought you here. They called you firmly but gently, and you already possess the proof. Before your mind can explain it, you stir. That quiet vibration under your ribs, that warmth in your chest. It's more than just feeling. It's a moment of remembering. According to the Bible, my sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me. John, you're experiencing an ancient awakening. And now is the time to reply. Here it is, the sentence that fails to correct you or highlight what you have overlooked. It completes what was beginning to take shape. It comes to complete you. God has infused you with a part of himself. Give that reality time to sink in. Not in your mind, not in your desire to comprehend, but in your bones, where the truth resides before words. It's not symbolism here. Poetic exaggeration is not what this is. This is a moment of unfolding. These words were not thunderously announced or carved into the Bible by God. Since only the purest form of you would be able to identify them fearlessly, he breathed them into the silent core of your becoming. You looked outside for years. You looked for clues in the sky. For meaning, look at the clock. Inquire with the universe about what was lacking. Unaware that you already had the solution, you pleaded for assurance. And now heaven speaks clearly and softly. You never waited on God. God waited for you to realize that what you referred to as longing wasn't emptiness. Punishment was not what you referred to as pressure. Failure was not what you referred to as silence. In his sacred temple is the Lord. In front of him, let the entire planet be silent. There was no neglect in Habakkuk to silence. It was the location where something completely was protected. What God put inside of you was hidden. He kept it hidden, not in the accolades, not in the opinions of others, not in accomplishments, titles, or praise. He concealed it inside of you, out of reach and safe from harm. And now you know why some places are intolerable, why talks that used to calm you now seem meaningless. They were outgrown by your soul. That's why feelings suddenly surge. White tears originate from unnamed sources. It's not instability. It's acknowledgement. It's calling forward the part of you that was sealed for a season. Finally, other people gave you a lot of names. Intense and sensitive. Too much to be different. You were referred to by some as a light bearer, a healer, and an empath. These names refer to your impact rather than your origin. They're echoes. The origin is the topic of this moment. You're not getting stronger. You are recalling that you have been a vessel all along. Christ is the hope of glory within you. Colossians, your body feels strange because of it. Why stillness feels alive and significant, and why rest feels sacred. There's a secret awakening that is deliberate rather than gentle. God did not put himself inside of you for your comfort. You did it to break cycles by disturbing darkness with your presence. The methods and explanations never come into contact just because you entered the room to speak to wounds. Thus, the noise that has dominated for too long may be quieted by your silence. You're not just here to accomplish something spectacular. Being something that hasn't been seen yet is why you're here. Additionally, timing is important. This statement appears now because you are at last brave enough to allow it to pass through you, open enough to hold it, and quiet enough to hear it. You stood labeled as difficult, misinterpreted, and deemed excessive. Sacred compression, however, was what others called too much. Containment was what appeared to be fragility. Beneath coping and survival, a whole kingdom folded into one soul. It makes sense why you were exhausted. Something that was never supposed to sleep forever was in your arms. And now it starts to leak out. It's through your breathing, not through sermons or speeches. The way you view others. How do you stay in the moment? When a person is filled with God, he doesn't request proof from them. Their existence turns into proof. So pay close attention. You are more than potential now. There is a pattern encoded in you, and that pattern is starting to emerge. Ordinary life feels intolerable because of this. Your body yearns for depth and mystery, but your nervous system rejects the superficial. So why can serene locations suddenly feel off? You believe this to be burnout. The Spirit of God that raised Jesus from the dead does not reside within you. Romans, this is not tiredness. It is expansion rather than collapse. You are no longer searching the world for purpose, so nothing feels real anymore. You are recalling that meaning flows through you as its center. Spiritual pride is not what this is. This is a remembrance of God. And that's just the start. Selected 1. Now is not the time to question your current situation or consider whether you made a mistake. Now is the time to reflect on something more profound. The path is not what you're looking for. The path is you. The purpose of what God put inside of you was never merely to sustain your life. It was intended to alter results. It was a tactic concealed in human form. A remedy that was buried beneath your skin long before the world acknowledged how parched it was. Don't back down then. Don't analyze every emotion. Don't wait for approval. Hold on. Inhale again. Allow your body to stabilize itself around reality. Your soul is already aware. Let's talk openly about the fire now. Not the kind that attracts notice or praise. The silent one. The one beneath your skin. Persistent and demanding. Similar to another heartbeat. You are unable to quiet. You refer to it as anxiety. You convinced yourself that you were too wired, too sensitive, and too intense. You pondered whether you were misfiring internally. However, this is the reality. In a human system, you have been carrying something as big as heaven. The ability to sustain that kind of voltage is still being learned. You are not experiencing dysfunction. Old wiring is being pressed against divine information. Attempting to run through structures designed for survival rather than purpose is heaven. You began to pull away because of this. Your soul finally acknowledged that some rooms were too small for the person you were becoming, not because you became cold. As a result, relationships started to change. Convenience-based bonds cannot support a consequence-based bond. When a person is inhabited by God, he doesn't simply give in. Impact is released by him. And applause doesn't bring impact. It comes with reorganization. It interferes with what you believe to be necessary. What you once chased is dissolved by it. It fosters a complete intolerance for anything that is out of alignment. You sensed it. You are no longer able to pretend. You cannot be a part of conversations that seem meaningless. Spiritual performances that sound good but sound hollow are not acceptable to you. You've witnessed too much, experienced too much, and lost too much of yourself in an effort to fit in with settings that only valued what was manageable. However, you weren't meant to be controlled. You were made to move things. That was the reason for the prolonged silence. In order to force you to hear what was alive inside of you, God was muting everything around you. You hear it now. You used to ignore that inner voice because it didn't align with your prayers, academic reasoning, or church language. It occupied a secret room. The part of you that didn't break when everything else did was too far away for the place trauma to reach. He kept himself there, and that room is now open. You misinterpret the symptoms, the shaking, the vivid dreams, the bursts of clarity followed by fatigue. This is what awakening looks like when it isn't glamorized and romanticized, even though you thought you were unraveling. It's confusing. It's alienating. It's too much. It's also holy. God did not conceal a lesson within you. He concealed his plan, not a performance, but a pulse, not a platform, but a pattern. And now that something is developing outside of your line of sight, that pulse is sinking. You're not simply awakening. You're aligning, and alignment is never free. Places that used to feel like home will become obsolete. You will fall in love with people you can no longer walk next to. Versions of yourself that were too small to answer the call, but easier to carry will be missed. Give them up. Let the picture fall apart. Let the well-thought-out plan burn. Your ego was never intended to benefit from your anointing. A generation was intended to benefit from it. Furthermore, they don't aim for excellence. They're looking for someone who is genuine enough to both bless and bleed. You are that. The clean answer is not you. You are the oil-soaked voice that doesn't back down when the truth costs everything. Not the polished brand, but the unvarnished revelation. And it will be extremely expensive. You're losing the person you had to be liked. The one that must be comprehended is being laid out. Someone who remembers the task is taking the place of the you who waited for permission. If you don't say anything now, according to the Bible, deliverance and relief will come from somewhere else. Esther, there is no pressure here. It's lucidity. God said, you were born for this moment. He inserted himself into you. He wasn't praising you. He called out to you. You are not present to dispute the call. It will be uncomfortable, but you are here to live it. This weight cannot be carried by your comfort zone. This version of yourself cannot be described by your previous vocabulary. So don't explain yourself. Don't expect small minds to understand sacred blueprints. The map was not given to them. You were. In any case, walk it. When it seems chaotic, walk it. When giving up seems simpler, walk it. When every aspect of you yearns for the ease of your former self, walk it. You're not supposed to be easy. Our God is a consuming fire that embodies it. Hebrews. And you were never supposed to be destroyed by that fire. It was intended to make you more refined. When you speak, people might not understand why they change. Why does your presence disturb what they believe to be stable, while your silence unnerves them? It's not intimate. What you carry is what matters. You can't act as though you don't now that you know. Shrinkage is not a safe option. Heaven has activated something that cannot be silenced. Your bones no longer silently contain this truth. It follows you around. It communicates with you. It changes everything it comes into contact with. The call is yours. The prophecy is distinct. It also resembles you. I appreciate you remaining in the present. Take a deep breath and start typing if this message didn't just make you feel something. In the comments, amen, as a silent agreement with what has already been triggered within you, rather than as a reaction to me. Additionally, share this with anyone who comes to mind while you're listening, to remind them that they are not losing who they are, not to persuade them. Someone is calling them forward. To continue walking this out together, please subscribe. You no longer wonder about the fire or its significance. You have it with you. You're using what God has given you, and it's traveling through your life now, fully present at this precise moment.